Hello everybody, it's Sylvia. Welcome to Butterfly Talk. Today I'm gonna tell you about my favorite special need parenting movies. Plus I'm gonna talk about the movies about EB per se that I love. So let's get started. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Butterfly Talk. My name is Sylvia. I am a special needs mom. I've been a special needs mom for 24 years. My son Nick, he just turned 24 late last month. I was going to do this video about my favorite special need parenting movies last month, but then we got struck with all kinds of stuff. My sister, her husband, and my 88-year-old Aunt Anna were all diagnosed with COVID-19. At first, they all had fevers, but then when my aunt had a hard time talking and breathing, breathing and coughing and stuff, they did the COVID test and it came back positive. She was immediately taken to the hospital. They couldn't put her on a respirator because due to her age, the doctors there noticed that anybody over a certain age, and I don't know what age that is, but my aunt was 88, so she was, she was getting up there. They said it does more harm than good. The procedure itself, they didn't know she would survive it, and if she did survive it, they didn't know if she was gonna get off of it. So they gave her a lot of oxygen through the mask and stuff, and it came to a point a week after she was in the hospital that the doctor said she's not getting enough oxygen. Even if we were to intubate her, the tube would never come off, so they tried as they might, but in the end, she died the day after Thanksgiving. So, I mean, admittedly, she was not my favorite aunt. I have three aunts. My first aunt, my favorite, well, I don't know if it was my favorite, but my Aunt Marisa, my middle name is Marisa for her, because she was my godmother. She died 10 years ago and she died on my birthday. And she was the one aunt that I could always rely on. She would always come and hug me and everything. And of course, my other aunt is Angela. I love my Aunt Angela. And Anna was always the one that was always kind of like a disciplinary, So as a child, you want to hug, you don't want to be told what to do. So, but anyway, regardless, she was my aunt, and I loved her. And I was just very upset, and that's why I didn't do the video, because I was just upset. And then besides that, now my sister and my brother-in-law are getting better. My sister got it the least. She just got a little cough and a little fever, went away. And so, my sister's just a few years older than me. She's 4 years older than me. So, and then another thing that happened in November, my computer decided to give up on me. Oh, I'm not going to work today. So I had to take it to Best Buy and have it fixed. They were able to fix it. I thought I was going to have to buy a new computer. And they're able to retrieve a bunch of stuff. So, but I had to reinstall everything. So that took a while. So November was not good. And of course, having COVID around all the time is worse than ever. I don't even want to go anywhere. So I actually did my hair today because I never get to do my hair. So anyway, before we get started, I wanted to show you my mug of the day, as I always do, in my shirt. So the mug I have is probably one of the oldest mugs I have. It's Snoopy, Happy Holidays, and it's the same on the other side, Happy Holidays. I probably had this mug for a good 20 years. I love it. It's one of my favorite mugs. And, it's crazy. I'm still drinking coffee and it's 1 in the afternoon. you know, and that's crazy. But this is decaf. So that saves me a little bit. And of course, the shirt. This is an interesting shirt. It says faith, hope, and love are all greater than EB. And I actually had this shirt made from a company, and I will put the link on the bottom, that I was trying to do a little fundraiser to help me take Nikki to Italy to see his grandparents. And so they have all these templates. It's great. I think it's called Ink Spot or something like that. I'll put the link underneath. And so anybody that wants to do a fundraiser for a shirt, or I think they have masks even now. So anyway, it's a great place. But this is probably one of my favorite shirts. And it's really a nice shirt too. You know, some of the shirts you get, they're kind of, you know, fading and stuff. Even this didn't fade, and I've had it for 5 years. So that's that. Okay, so let's get started with the movies. All right, I'm a huge movie buff. I watch probably 3 to 4 movies a week. No lie. I told my husband when we got married in 2003. We got together in 98. We found each other again in 98, I gotta say, because my husband and I met in 85. So anyway, I told my husband that I was, you know, before we got married, I used to go, or no, not before we got married, before I had Nikki. I used to go to the movies every week. And he said, no way, there's no way you're going to do it. I'm like, I went to the movies every week. And so I found, when we moved, I found a box full of ticket stubs. And you could see the dates. There's so many of them. So anyway, these are special need parenting movies. These are not disability movies or just broadly. These are about parents. And I like to specify that because there's a lot of movies out there that are great and that deal with disabilities, different special needs. I've seen a lot of them and are great. But these specific ones that I'm going to talk about today, there's about 9. These are just really touched me as a special needs mom because they talk about special need parenting. Okay, so we're going to start with one that probably everybody has seen, Steel Magnolias. So this follows the story of Malin, played by Sally Field, and her daughter Shelby, played by Julia Roberts. Shelby is a diabetic, and she gets married in the beginning of the movie, and then she wants to have a baby, but she knows it's risky, and she ends up giving her one of her kidneys. I mean, it's really the love of a mom, and I probably won't spoil you to tell you that probably my favorite scene of all time of any movie was when she's standing, I will not say where, and she says, she was crying and saying, I could jog all the way to Texas, but my daughter never could. And that's really, it made me cry when I saw the movie back in the 80s. And just the thought that I have a son that can even walk, let alone jog. It's just, every time I see that movie, I'm a mess. And so I really highly recommend it. It's, if you haven't seen it, if you're the 2 people that haven't seen it, or maybe you're young, you know, you weren't alive in the 80s perhaps, you know, this is definitely a movie that will live on forever. One of my favorite movies of all time. All right, movie number 2, Lorenzo's Oil. Oh my God. If you haven't seen this movie, it's probably not very well known. It stars Nick Nolte and Susan Sarandon, and they're parents of a boy that develops a rare disease, and nobody's working for a cure. And so the father decides he's gonna do everything he can, learn all about it to tackle the problem himself, you know. And so everything they did, it helps other parents and other children with that condition. To me, that movie was just supremely inspirational. It was also an Italian family, so I could relate to that 100%. So awesome. That was movie number 2. Movie number 3, okay, Mask. Mask, I haven't seen that movie in a long time. I saw it when it came out at the movies. I think it was 83, 84. I mean, it's been a long time. And the movie follows Rusty, which is played by Cher, whose son Ricky has a, I wrote it down, cranial diaphyseal dysplasia. I don't know if I know I said it wrong, but anyway. And so his face is kind of, it looks weird, you know, and so she just fights for his happiness. And in the movie, Rusty is a very, you know, tough motorcycle chick kind of thing, but with him, she's amazing. She's a great mom. And so I love that movie. I haven't seen it. I want to see it again now. You know, I haven't seen it in a long time, but a good must see. Next one, okay, another really famous movie here, Forrest Gump. Okay, so Sally Field once again knocks it out of the park as the mom of Forrest Gump. Forrest calls her mama all the time throughout the movie. I know she's only really in the beginning, but throughout the movie, he always says, you know, Mama always said, Mama always said, you know, he always remembers his mom's wisdom. You know, Forrest Gump, of course, was low IQ, I guess. I don't know what else, the condition itself. I think it was just low IQ. But anyway, of course, Tom Hanks plays Forrest Gump. I mean, that's probably one of the best movies. I saw this at the theater when it came out, and I remember coming out of the theater, and I was like, what did I just see? Wow. Probably one of the best movies of all time, bar none. So anyway, that was probably a famous one. Now I'm going to go through some that are not so famous, but still special need parenting was a central point. So the first one of these is My Sister's Keeper. This is from a novel by Jodi Picoult. I don't know how to pronounce it. So this is a very controversial topic movie because in the movie, Cameron Diaz plays Sarah, who through in vitro fertilization has a daughter that they name Anna, and they have this daughter to be a donor for the older sister Kate, who has leukemia. And oh boy, where to start? Okay, number one, in the movie, Cameron Diaz spends a lot of times at the Children's Hospital Los Angeles while her daughter is getting infusions of some sort. And since I always go to Children's Hospital Los Angeles while my son gets infusions, it was almost like a deja vu when I saw that movie. I'm like, she is me. Can she play me in a movie? It's like, that's like totally 100% me. But of course, the story of the movie is about Anna. Once she reaches the age of 12, 13, decides, okay, I'm tired of being a donor. Now you want me to give her a kidney on top of everything else that I've done for her older sister. I need to declare independence. And she finds a lawyer. And you know, of course, the mom is just, she's very torn because on one hand, she loves both her daughters, you know, but one is sick, and it's like very interesting movie. If you haven't seen it, it's another one that you should, because it really, the nuances in there are really, you could tell that whoever was involved in this movie knew firsthand what it means to be a special needs mom. So, My Sister's Keeper. Next one is called Extraordinary Measures. This stars, let me see, I wrote it down, Harrison Ford and Brendan Fraser. Now, Brendan Fraser and the character of Brendan Fraser and his wife have 2 children that were diagnosed with Pompe disease. And there's no research being done or anything, and so they're trying to find a researcher, in this case is Harrison Ford, who might be able to find, you know, a cure for their children. And it's really interesting. I mean, it just depicts the lens a parent will go to help their child. I realize not all special need parents are great. I've had, and I don't think I am great. And but I always advocate for them because sometimes they're not great. They're not because they're not understood and they're treated like garbage. And so they themselves kind of like take a passive role and let other people do it. So I can kind of understand, but of course, it's every individual is different. So I'll leave it at that. All right, next movie. All right, this one is probably more recent wonder. Stars Julia Roberts as Augie's mom. No, August, I guess, has facial differences, and so he is discriminated against. And so I think Julia Roberts does a really good job comforting her son and helping him. I thought it was really, really sweet. I wish they'd make more movies like that because, I don't think I've said that many times, but Nikki, growing up, Nikki, okay, he's 24 now, so he hasn't gone to school in a while, but when he was going to school, nobody really discriminated against him. The kids were never bad to him. All the kids were quite nice to him, except for one teacher. And this teacher was horrible to him. She would just push Nikki by himself by the window because she was saying he smells, he's going to attract flies. And I asked his aide, you see flies on Nikki? What the hell? And he goes, no, when, where? And I even asked Nikki, are there any flies on you? And he goes, no. I'm like, that teacher was horrible. She made our life miserable. It was just, anyway, let's leave it at that. Another movie that I really enjoyed was Mr. Holland's Opus. And this follows the story of a musician and composer played by Richard Dreyfuss, who has a very hard time when his son is diagnosed. They find out he's deaf. So can you imagine a musician whose son is deaf? I mean, that was really, really hard for him. And he finds refuge in his work, in his students. I really liked it. There's struggles there. There's struggles that he has, and of course his wife as well. And I really enjoyed it. And it's not my favorite movie of all time, but I thought it was a good movie for especially parenting. And last in my list, it was a TV movie starring Farrah Fawcett called Jewel. And Jewel depicts the story of a 40-year-old woman with 4 healthy children in the 1940s who has a girl with Down syndrome. And this is probably the first time that I've realized that children with Down syndrome can be very, very different from one another. I had a friend of mine whose cousin had Down syndrome, and he told me he has the mental ability of maybe a 10 to 12-year-old. I'm like, hey, that's not too bad, because 10 to 12-year-olds are not really, they can do things on their own. They can get dressed, they can do all kinds of things, But this one girl in the movie with Down syndrome, she had a lot of health problems, a lot. She never walked, or she walked when she was 5. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen this movie. And it reminded me, a few years later after I saw this movie, there was this one guy that I was talking to online, and he said that his little brother, the youngest brother in his family, had Down syndrome. And he said that it was awful because he always had seizures, he had always had surgeries. It was just like a completely, I didn't realize that. I thought, you have a child with Down syndrome. Okay, they're a little behind, but they're not, you think Forrest Gump, but some of these children are really, 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 really sick. And so we have to really think about before judging people, because we don't know what they're dealing with. And I find the same in the ABA community at large. They see Nick in the wheelchair and they're like, why isn't he walking? And I'm like, you don't understand. His feet are so sensitive. Just a little, I can't even touch him right nowadays. I cannot touch his toes. And when he has to transfer, we have to put these pillow shoe things on him so he can do it. Otherwise, he'll get a blood blister that's this big on his foot. And his foot never grew. His foot is about as big as my hand. My hand is probably bigger. And when you get a blood blister this big, I am amazed that there's a lot of EBers out there that can walk fine, that have the same diagnosis. Every EB patient is different. So every Down syndrome patient is different. So now on my list of movies that I want to watch regarding special need parents and that I haven't gotten around to it yet, or maybe I haven't found, one is called Far From the Tree. Now this one is more of a documentary, and the issues that they depict is autism, Down syndrome, dwarf. Now the author is gay, and he uses that issue and his family reaction as the springboard to examine other families with different children. So that sounds interesting to me, because that would be a true story type of thing. Then another movie I want to watch is called Little Man. And the summary, it says, Little Man is the story of how a micro preemie brought a family to its knees. Throughout the struggle for life, they keep their family from disintegrating under the unrelenting stress and chaos of hospital, emergency, medical crisis, and a clashing bro to trust. And who special need parent doesn't relate to that, right? Because you have to understand, a lot of these doctors and people have never seen this condition. I mean, especially EB. And so they all struggle to figure out how to help, and some doctors don't even bother. Go somewhere else. And so we realize that. And then another movie I want to watch stars actually Zac Efron and Mary Louise Parker. And it's called Miracle Run. And it's about a mom who finds out her twin sons have autism and tries to give them a normal childhood. So that sounds interesting to me. Now, the other movies I want to talk about. Sorry about that. My Outlander ringtone. Anyway, so EB movies and documentaries. The first one, probably the oldest one, I could be wrong about that, is called My Flesh and Blood. And this is a documentary that follows my good friend, Susan Tom, and her 11 adopted special needs children. Susan had adopted two children with recessive dystrophic EB, Susie and Anthony. And I have met Anthony, or had met Anthony. He passed away since, but and so she does talk about Anthony, shows him some videos about giving him a bath and all kinds of stuff. So I really enjoyed seeing the snippet of her life. I consider her one of my best friends in the AB community, and so I gotta promote that. My Flesh and Blood is what it's called. Then there's the movie called Butterfly Girl. And Butterfly Girl is also a documentary. It follows Abigail Evans. She has RDEB, I think. And then we follow her as she tries to just live a normal teenage life. She works for her dad. They live in Texas. I thought it was very interesting and very nice because, she wants some... she's just trying so hard to have some independence. And that is hard when you have like a rare condition like this. So that's that one. And then we have, of course, how could I keep off The Boy Whose Skin Fell Off? This is this is another documentary per se. It follows the few months, I want to say, a few last months of life of Johnny Kennedy, and we see him as he goes through his days. It goes through a radio interview. His bandage changes. Oh gosh, he was 36 when he died. I did read his book as well. The interesting thing is that he died right around the time that Nikki was born. So very bittersweet to watch that. I actually haven't. I kind of refuse to have Nikki watch it. I mean, if he wants to, he can, but he's always said that it just makes me sad. I'm like, okay. But anyway, as a parent, it was very instructional. So I recommend it. The next one is actually a movie. It's a short movie. I don't think it's so maybe half an hour or 45 minutes, and I don't remember, but it's called Daisy. And this movie depicts the last days of a 13-year-old girl with EB who comes across a British Iraq War veteran who suffers from drug addiction. And so when he sees her dealing with this, he's like, okay, well, if she can deal with this, what am I complaining about? You know, so that was really, I really liked it. I really thought it was cute. The little actress didn't have EB, but they made it look like she had EB. I think they did a pretty good job. So, and I think there were at least one or two other children in the movie with EB that they were kind of on aside, you know, sort of thing. So it was really good. Another one that I've seen that I liked, and I don't know if this was just an hour documentary that aired. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. It was called Extraordinary Storm Chasers, and it follows Sam as she chases storms somewhere in the U.S. And I thought that was really cute. You know, my son could never just be independent like that. He's just too, I don't know. He's always been just maybe a little bit more involved in some, you know. As a mom, that's like heartbreaking for me to see. However, when I saw Sam lugging her luggage everywhere with all her bandages, I mean, I just wanted to give her a big hug. And so, because I know how hard EB is, you know, no matter how severe or how mild you have it, EB sucks. You know, EB just sucks. So anyway, so that's the movie. That's it. There's not that many, huh? On my list to watch, whenever I find it, it's a documentary filmed in Colombia, Bogota, Colombia, who follows 4 individuals with EB, and it's called In Crystal Skin. Different areas of the world call EB different things. It's mostly a butterfly child, but in South America, they call it in crystal skin. So that's interesting. And of course, I can't end this video without saying that pretty soon, I hope the documentary that Nikki was a part of, which should be coming out next year. It was supposed to be coming out this year, but then with COVID, you know, they had submitted it to all kinds of movie festivals, and then they had to stop because of COVID. And so they're restarting next year, hopefully after people get vaccinated. I don't know. But it's called The Shell. This is the only poster I've seen so far. And this is the images from a video when Nikki was little. They took all the videos that I had from Nikki when he was little. Now, the movie is not just about Nikki. It's about people in pain. And they went actually pretty much around the United States and even in Mexico to film people in a lot of pain. And, you know, Nikki's always in a lot of pain. They told me that the segment Nikki's in, it's a good half an hour. It's probably their longest segment. They followed, they were here filming for about a week. Every day they used to come and interview us or show bandage changes and stuff like that. So as soon as, you know, it's out, I'll let you know. But anyway, so that's my movie. That's all the movies that I could recommend. On my next episode, probably after Christmas in the new year, I will bundle together all kinds of, especially parenting books and also EB related books that I find found really helpful and interesting. And that's it. So before I go, please subscribe and turn on the bell. So if anytime there's a new episode, you'll be, or a new video, whatever, because it's not just this that I post other things. You'll be notified. And thank you for watching. And if you have any suggestions on something that you would like for me to talk about, please leave it in the comments. Thank you so much. Stay safe. Wash your hands. Thank you. Bye-bye.